Hey everyone, my name is Adam. This is my colleague Bola. We're both dispatchers at BH Trends, and today we're going to be asking questions about dispatching. You ready?
Of course, always.
So, the question number one is, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a dispatcher?
Uh, Honestly, right out of high school, uh, I was in a kind of indecisive in between whether I should go to college and pursue a degree or whether I should do something else with my life. And as a being first generation immigrant, it's kind of tough to maintain, college life,
Yeah,
working
obviously.
part-time jobs and then doing this and that. And then all of a sudden I met a guy, Azim.
Uh huh.
And then, I got into logistics and I was naturally good at selling stuff
Uh huh.
at all throughout my life,
I can tell,
anything, yeah.
yeah.
And it's just kind of worked out, I kind of did my toes in and I'm like, damn, money like this in this industry at my
I
age,
feel
I'm
it,
like,
right?
yeah, I'm feeling it. And then, yeah, that's how, and, 6 months down the road, I got you from New York, and then ever since it's been hell of a ride. 4 years in logistics, and
Yeah.
can say it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, well, in my situation, as he told me, he got me. It was actually a pretty funny story. I was never looking myself to be a dispatcher, but eventually I was sponsored to play a soccer in Chicago for one of the trucking teams. And I was like, why not? It's a free flight, free hotel, free food. Why not to take a shot? So the funny thing is, when I was playing soccer, I got my shoes ripped and I needed the replacement. And the only person that knew was this guy. So I called him. Thanks God, he was pretty close. He got me a new pair of shoes, and I was there for a week. So for the entire week, he was like, "Yo, bro, come. I want you to be a dispatcher. I want to work with me." I was like, "Nah, man. I don't really feel the dispatching. I don't want to be in trucking." The last day, my flight is 4 hours.
I remember.
I have nothing to do. And he was like, "Yo, bro, swing by the office. Swing by the office." I was like, "Fuck it, let's do it." We get to the office. This guy talks on the phone for 3 minutes. He's like, "Boom, that's how I made $150." I was like, "Wait, what? Can we go again?" Next call, 2 minutes, $50. And that's how I was like, then I was like, "Yo, listen, give me a month. I need to take my stuff from New York and I'll be here in the month." And there you go. After a month, I came here for 2 weeks just to see how things go. And this is how I stayed. Let's move on to the next question. So the question number two is, what made you choose to work in the trucking industry?
Well, I guess I'm answering first. For me, honestly, like I said, it's obviously the money factor.
Yeah, sure.
First of
Sure.
all, I mean, with a very little background, no experience whatsoever, only solely depending on my soft skills, in terms of like communicating to people, getting along with people, and for me it was no brainer whatsoever. With as little investment, I just found that this is something I'm really passionate about. Um, and it kind of like dispatching kind of flows through my blood.
It
It's
clicked,
like
it clicked,
it
it
clicked
clicked.
and
Yeah,
it's
I
there,
see, I
so
see.
it's I kind of stuck with it.
Well, for me, as I said, I didn't want to be in the tracking. It just was a coincidence. So let's go ahead and move on to the third question. So the question number three is, what does a typical day look like for you as a dispatcher?
Uh, should I be honest or?
I mean, yeah, I guess we're gonna.
Honestly, the first thing in the morning, you get so. I mean, first thing in the morning, you open your eyes, you don't think of anything else but. I gotta go check my group chats. I gotta go check whether everything went sideways. Pharmaceutical customer or those like I make the number one priority. I go through that and I'm like, oof, I gotta make sure that everything went well. And then you kind of paranoid at all times. You gotta check your phone. And then you're like, oh god, everything is going well. And then you go, on your morning routine,
Yeah.
get dressed, get in the office, and then honestly, I had this habit. Until at first when I started, I was so like involved. Like I really wanted to get good at it. Like I would sit down in the morning, and I wouldn't even take my lunch break. Like up until like 5 6 p.m. until every single of my trucks were covered. And I mean it's not the case right now because
Okay.
no, I mean I'm still passionate about it. It's just yeah, but it's just sometimes life, work, and then just health balance has to be there,
That's
for
facts.
everything
That's
to
fact.
kind
You
of
gotta
work out.
balance everything.
Um,
So for me, basically, as he said, you wake up paranoid, hoping everything went smooth at the night while you were asleep. I barely wake up at 6:30. I try to be at the office around 7 a.m. Thanks God, I live really close. And the first thing I do actually when I get here, I make a cup of coffee. I cannot start my morning without a coffee. So once I start my morning, I go through my emails to see what's going on with the loads, then I check my chats, and so on and so on. Basically, in this job, you always gotta be up to date. The first thing you do when you wake up, you gotta gather as much information as possible in order to proceed with your day. Let's go ahead and move on for the question number 4. How do you handle last minute changes or unexpected delays?
Well, that depends what kind of last minute change, honestly. It's always, I mean, at first I was getting really frustrated and all anxious and, nervous and going really off. But at one point you just realize that it is what it is.
Yeah.
You either just deal with it and, find a solution, or, you could just keep complaining about it, which is at one point, it's really pointless. For me, depends on the situation. I mean, the good thing of what I've developed so far from my experience, we have a really good, team of dispatchers where whether, we have a follow-off, first we'll check within the company whether we have, any trucks in the area, anybody that could repower or anybody that could recover the load if it hasn't been loaded yet. And then as time went by, I've gotten more involved with other companies. I have a good network of carriers. So let's say BH doesn't have a good truck, then sometimes when really crucial for the customer to get the load picked up and stuff like that, then I would call my customer and say, hey, listen, I have this carrier. He's out of Chicago or out of here. He's the solid guy. I've been working with this guy. I know him personally, and sort of vouch for him. And at least it's one of the ways I try to accommodate the customer, because you don't want to drop the ball last minute. That's the last thing you want to do. And I find ever since I've been getting more involved and really answering my phone calls last minute, even it's 3 a.m. if the customer calls, you got to pick up the phone. And then once you start doing that, your customers truly sees the kind of service you provide, that you truly go above and beyond. And same thing actually goes towards the drivers. So, I've seen people after 5 o'clock, I'm clocked out, dispatching is not about it. Dispatching is, you pretty much live by it, you first thing you wake up, it's on your mind. Last thing you go to sleep, it's on your mind. Yeah. So for me, it's you gotta service the drivers. Your number one customer is your driver. Your second customer is the customer itself, and you just gotta prioritize, balance it out, and make sure everybody's happy. And I believe that's the key to have a good, successful business in this industry.
The way I handle my last minute changes, I just try to not stress it out. As he mentioned, it is what it is. It's already done. There's nothing you can do. But it really depends what kind of changes. For example, Bolo just explained the changes on our side. If we're talking about the side of the brokers, for example, last minute he's changing the location of the delivery or the times of the delivery, you obviously try to gather as much information and contact the broker directly in order to get a better rate, to try to find a better appointment. So the most important thing is just to not stress out and go with the flow and try to come to a reasonable outcome and make things better for everyone, for the driver side, for the broker side, and obviously for yourself. Question number 5. What tools or software do you rely on to manage multiple trucks and drivers efficiently?
First of all, it's Transport Pro that we've been utilizing. I honestly think not that many people utilize it as much. For me, managing multiple trucks, I think obviously the messenger. First of all, you have to have good messenger, good set of protocols. So for us, it's a Transport Pro that sends out automated updates. We don't really have to go that in depth, but it really simplifies life for us. So Transport Pro, Telegram for timely updates. Telegram has been, notoriously known for stability. Honestly, I remember once or twice in my entire life that it's been, the server has been down. So that is crucial in my opinion. Other than that, I don't really utilize that much. Maybe Yeah,
Yeah.
that wraps it up for me.
Basically the same thing. The messengers, we use Telegram, we use WhatsApp. That's the biggest time savers. We we basically create different chats for the brokers and for the drivers. That way we can manage everything. And second thing I would like to add, it's ChatGPT. Since it came out,
Oh, yeah.
man, it's been
Yeah.
saving me so much time. Like regarding the dispatching the trucks, me personally, I'm an immigrant. I haven't born here, and English is not my native language. I used to make a lot of mistakes while I was texting with the brokers, and in this profession, you need to have a like basically professional tone of emails. And the way the ChatGPT was helping me out, he was kind of paraphrasing my messages to the point that I'm already talking like that. So basically saying, "Fake it till you make it."
Right,
Let's go ahead and
that's
move on
one-
to question number
That's
6.
one way to do it.
What trends or changes in the trucking industry have had the biggest impact on dispatching? Oof, that's the interesting one.
What trends or changes in the trucking industry have had the biggest impact on dispatching? I mean, it's the way you approach it. So, I happened to get into this business when the market was booming. We had the whole COVID bubble, right? When,
Yeah.
I guess I could call it bubble.
Good old times.
When the rates, honestly, you could give a phone, you can pass the phone to a kid and he could book a load back then.
Yeah,
Like it was
definitely.
that simple.
So easy.
But again, the most valuable lesson that I've learned from those years and from relationships and from everything I've done in the past, never burn bridges. Make sure that service is always top notch, and even if you're asking for an insanely high rate, like I would on a typical basis, like you gotta be reasonable and you gotta know how to justify it. So if the broker calls in for a load that has to take 2 days in transit, and then you've got a team and you don't really want to move it,
Yeah.
and you're asking, for 1,000 miles, you're asking $5,000. Well, let's say theoretically,
Yeah.
then if you're overcharging and you gotta justify the reason you're overcharging, et cetera, et cetera. So it's things like that kind of, for me personally, impacted my dispatching style, and I've nobody told me in the beginning that the things could turn around.
Oh.
At one point, you're gonna
Right,
start.
right.
The people are gonna get aggravated. They're not
Yeah.
gonna. But again, it's. I think it's something everybody needed, and I honestly believe that the current market that we're in for the past 2-3 months, it's somewhat stable market.
Yeah.
It's not crazy high. It's not too low, but it's somewhat enough for truckers to survive, to pay
Yeah.
the bills, and as long as you maintain good service, build dedicated lanes, get regular, good paying customers, take care of their freight. I think you can thrive in this business
Yeah.
in these conditions, and maybe slightly better market wouldn't hurt.
I think what we need is just a little bit less trucks. I've been
Yeah,
checking
I mean,
some
obviously,
stats.
yeah,
Basically,
it's
having
actually-
the same amount of loads is just the trucking market is over exaggerated right now. And as he was talking about the bubble, everybody started financing trucks, buying trucks. The market was so over exaggerated, and this job is all about supply and demand. So basically, when there was so many trucks, the rates started going down. I'm not sure from your experience, but 2023 was my worst year when the market dropped
Yeah.
significantly. I was struggling. I don't think I'm the only one that was struggling. The 2023 was hard in general. When you as he said, you're quoting brokers 5,000, and the next thing you know, they're just dropping phones on you. They don't want to listen, and you gotta kind of make yourself to like realize that this is the new life, new world. You gotta just get used to it. I guess there's nothing more we can add.
Yeah,
Let's
I mean,
move on to the next question. The question number 7. What one of the most challenging situations you faced, and how did you resolve it?
oof.
Well,
Can I not talk about it?
If you don't want to talk about it, I have one story that I still remember to this day. So there was this. I just began my dispatching profession, and I booked this guy a load from Omaha, Nebraska, or somewhere from Nebraska, headed towards New Jersey, I believe. It was a little bit less than 1,400 miles, so it could have been done in 2 days. But they gave me an extra day and they paid me $5,000. And it was a load of beef. And I'd like to mention the load of beefs are one of the most expensive commodities in trucking. It was $250,000. So this guy calls me. He's like, Adam, listen, can I swing by the house? It's right on the way. And me being a new dispatcher, I was like, I don't see any problems with that. Why not? So I told him, yeah, definitely, you can go ahead and get to your house. So the next day I call him, goes to voicemail. I'm not able to get a hold of him. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. So initially, he disappeared for 3 days. For 3 days, I was getting harassed by 17 different brokers on like hourly basis. They were calling me, keep calling me. Once we got a hold of him, he was like, man, my son got into a car accident, something happened, just made up a story. Still to this day, we don't know what happened to him. Yet, after we were able to get a hold of him, it was still hard for him to deliver the load. There was so many miscommunications, so many wrong ETAs. It was just a terrible experience. We probably delivered the load in 10 days. So that's the most horrible experience that I had, and I still remember it to this day. He kind of left a scar on me. You want to add anything, baby? Like, I bet you have some better stories, bro.
I have much worse stories. I remember once, I think I had a truck breakdown. I believe it was somewhere in Wyoming, and then I ended up pulling a truck from Denver to recover it. And then my repower truck got there the following day, and then on the way out also broke down. So
I can imagine the eyes of the broker, like, what the hell?
yeah, and then it was already ongoing on the third day, and it was kind of a chaotic load. And we have those here and there. It's just part of the business. Sometimes workers think that we don't take care of the equipment, etc., etc. But that's actually not true. I mean, we as a company make sure that our equipment is up to date. We actually have a system that maintains and keeps the record of it. It's just sometimes you really get unlucky, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
It's part of the business.
Part of the business, unfortunately.
Let's go ahead and move on to the question number 8. How do you manage stress, especially when dealing with tight schedules or difficult situations? I think that's going to be a really helpful resource for those guys who are trying to come into the dispatching. So let's go ahead.
For me, honestly, I don't really stress out that often. Like, as time flew by, at first couple of years, I would be, I was younger too, in my teens, and I would be just overreactive. Something came up, I would instantly get pissed, and then it's just at one point you're just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really stress me out, to be honest, that much. Except for the times when a driver is really hard to work with, or brokers give me a hard time for no reason.
It happens from
It's time to time, but like for me to get stressed out about a situation that really couldn't be much done, I don't know. I don't think that's really an issue for me personally. And then tight schedule, I go to gym. Seven to 5. It's not a tough schedule for me. When I'm dispatching a driver and that is like over the road for 3 weeks and he hasn't been home, and then all depressed, and then you talk to him, and then you kind of feel grateful, that you get to get home every day, you get to have a normal life. So honestly, exactly.
Fresh food.
On weekends, you
can go out.
You can go out, the stuff you want to do, and it's just you're in that term. Like I feel like I'm thankful and I'm blessed. So I don't have no issues or complaints whatsoever.
For me it was a little bit hard because, as I said, we mind you guys, we're both 23, so we started dispatching when we were 18, 19, 20 years old. So being a kid, you sometimes become a little bit aggressive and overreact to some things. The way I deal with it, I just kind of try to work out. I go to gym, work out. I try to just go with the flow. The second you overreact to something, it's gonna be like a poison in your body, and it's just gonna go to every part of your body, and it makes you angrier. And I just get up, I do push-ups, I go ahead and drink cold water. I try to go outside, breathe for a little bit. Take 5 minutes, then go back, get back to work, focused, calm, and basically that's it. Question number 9. What's the key to building strong relationship with drivers?
For me, really kind of a breaking point was, again, I've never driven. You've never driven a truck, so In that term, I pushing a driver, driving overnight shifts, and then doing stuff like that. Well, it kind of always seemed easy. Hey, you know what's the problem, man? You could, I got you really good paying money. Go get it picked up, etc. But honestly, you can't really go that far just along on good paying
Yeah.
loads. Honestly, you could sell a guy $1.80, $2 a mile a load, and you could sell it to him like it's the best load on the load board, and the guy would do it, you
Yeah.
know, with that belief. So, honestly, really, how you talk to drivers, you gotta be respectful, you gotta be understanding. At the same time, in my opinion, um, the way to build a good relationship with the driver is setting right boundaries
Oh
right
yeah,
off the
that's right.
start,
That's right.
because all of my drivers, I mean, they rarely call me after 5 p.m. unless there is something really
Urgent.
beyond or urgent, you know, going on. And then at the same time, if somebody calls, I will pick up, I will talk to them, I will get it resolved. But then um, they just don't bother me at that much,
Yeah.
you know. But at one point, I was when I just got started. Oh man, I would talk to drivers. I could talk to a driver. I mean, he doesn't have anything to do.
Yeah.
He's over the road. He's, you know, here's the headset. He's driving, and then he would talk to me, and I could sit there for hours talking to them. And then at one point, I just realized, I kind of have to maintain this, good set of boundaries where the driver, I have time for the driver to talk, not about his kid, not about, other stuff, just business, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of small talk.
Yeah.
And then that's what I found really important for me to, build a good relationship. So um, setting boundaries, respect, understanding each other, and then if those three things, kind of settle in, everything else just goes in place. And um, other than that, I've never had any issues. And whenever I have a driver that is problematic or gives issues, and or I feel like there's a kind of a tendency that he could, just ditch the load and go AWOL on you, then immediately I try to call it out. And obviously, because the last thing we want is just because of one driver to have another 150 drivers suffering for whatever reason. So we take it very seriously, and I try to tell my dispatchers, everybody on my team, that hey, you guys gotta make sure that this is a good driver. Believe me, the couple of $100 you're gonna make of him, it's not gonna be worth it in the long run. So no, those are my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, he actually made a good point. You gotta set boundaries. I also made a mistake. It's not a mistake technically, but I was on the phone with my drivers 24/7. At some points it was good. At some point it was bad because they could have just called me in the middle of the night, asking for some questions that could have been easily resolved with our chats that we have in the Telegram. But aspect of communication is very important. You gotta be like a friend to your driver, because imagine you're in a box for months driving. You don't see your family. You don't get to eat good food. You don't get to, just enjoy the regular things that we enjoy on a daily basis. So just talking to the driver when he's upset, you can order him some food. Everybody has a DoorDash or Uber. That's actually the tip I learned from him. Whenever my driver feel upset and he's frustrated, I'll be like, hey, listen, man, just go relax, bro. What you want? What do you want to eat? Just order him food, and he feels appreciated. He feels like he's a part of the company, which they are. But sometimes the drivers get mad for no reason, and that reason is because they're on the road for months and they don't get to enjoy like regular human amenities. And sometimes you just gotta talk to them and make them your friends. Let's go ahead and move on to question number 10. How do you actually, we're just talking about, right? How do you handle situations where a driver is unhappy or has an issue with the load or the route? As I said, when he's unhappy, you just call him, you try to talk to him, give him some time, order him some food. I'll let you go ahead and talk about the issues with the load or route. I think you can explain it better than me. What do you do when they don't like the load or the route they take?
So when in BH, whenever I do an orientation or somebody from my team, does an orientation, right off the start, when the driver comes in, whether it's an owner operator or company driver, they'll also give hard time. But overall, if it's some picky owner operator or giving you hard time for no reason, right off the start, I will tell him, hey, listen, this is the way I approach my business. I have good paying loads. I can prove you that you're gonna make money way more than anywhere else. Although you gotta trust me. Like if I'm telling you to take $1,000 load to get out of here, you're taking $1,000 load and you're getting out of there. And then 2 weeks down the road or 3 weeks down the road, your paychecks are not really, you haven't really been making much, and you're not happy with your paychecks. Then you would come to me, and then we could have a conversation whether we gotta have, make an adjustment or switch something up, and maybe even a dispatcher, at one point or another. But typically, the moment I started doing that, and then talking to my drivers right off the bat and explaining how I want to approach it, honestly, majority of them understood. If it's not some crazy guy, it's very understandable, solid working guy, then they understood. And ever since I haven't really had problems with the drivers not taking a load or giving hard time. I mean, yeah, sometimes when you're gonna send them into a city, with a bunch of drugs like I do, then they could complain about it. But if I'm telling them to take it, they would take it.
But yeah, it's all about the communication. You just gotta explain the driver why you take it. So in BH, I believe in any other trucking company, they don't take bad loads. It's just a necessity. It's the market conditions, and sometimes drivers don't see the side that we see. So it's up to you to explain them why load is necessary and why we need to take it. Let's go ahead and move on to the question number 11. What advice would you give to someone interested in becoming a dispatcher? That's very important. So I'd like to give them as much information as you can.
I have good chunk of experience in that. First of all, like I said, like I've mentioned, never burn bridges. The moment you walk in, the way I've approached it, my second week, I already was dispatching like 7-8 trucks in Kafkas. I mean, it was back in Kafkas, and I was right out of high school. And for me, first of all, I was passionate about it, and I was money hungry. So when I was walking around the office, honestly, it felt like Wall Street to me. A bunch of people just sitting with multiple monitors, talking to brokers, negotiating rates,
yelling, cursing,
cursing, yeah, all that. And I'm like, wow, this is something I really want to do. And then, so for me, it was listen to people. So every single dispatcher is good in his own way, and obviously has its own flaws, and how I approached it, I would walk to every single guy at Kafkas. I would ask about the load, I would present the load details, and then just bother every single person, everybody just hated me in that
They used
office.
to tell me about this guy.
Yeah, and then I would come by, hey, is this load from here to here is a good load? And what about this load? And then they were like so frustrated, but everybody kept it cool.
Definitely.
But honestly, if I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have been. I would have picked it up, at this pace, I guess. That was the first really most important thing that I did, and kind of really worked out for me. Other than that, the second thing is, like I said, never burn bridges. The moment you walk in, you need to try and maintain a good relationship with the brokers. You gotta like sense it out. Once you get experience, you kind of have a sense of for people that have good paying loads, good paying customers, and then or sometimes honestly it takes 30, 20 loads done, in the best fashion with no issues whatsoever until the broker or the customer opens up more, more opportunities for you. Like for me, it was a couple of my customers that I was just consistently doing one load every week, flawless, tracking, being on time for pickup and delivery, all the updates in a timely manner. Everything was, top notch. And then at one point, she just called me. She's like, "Hey, listen, do you have trucks in Wisconsin too?" And then I'll have loads for you.
You're talking about RLS right now?
RLS,
I see.
And then at one point, she started giving me all these loads, and then she just bombarded me with a bunch of loads. When everybody was getting 3,035 out of Chicago, I would get 555 out of Wisconsin. And like
wow,
nobody could think of those rates. And then that was my first valuable lesson, to maintain and provide good service. But at the same time, from same exact customer, I've learned my hard lesson.
Never burn bridges.
Never burn bridges. Wasn't me though. So when we had this hot market, it was December. Everybody was getting 15, 17, 18,000 dollars out of Washington, and all of a sudden, all of my drivers didn't want to go to New York. They didn't want to deload out of Wisconsin,
Yeah.
even though they were feeding off of them year round. Nobody wanted to do those, and then I just couldn't provide capacity. I mean, I'm not a broker. I don't have trucks, to hire. So, and we were relatively smaller back then.
Yeah.
And it was hard to get trucks to my customer. And then we had a couple of dispatchers. And I'm not gonna name the names. who overquoted on the same exact posted dedicated run that I've been doing for $5,500, like double the amount. And then and then after that we ended up having it kind of ruined the whole relationship, and it went sideways ever since. I never really kind of recovered from that. But I learned my valuable lesson of never burning bridges, maintaining the customers, honoring the rates. And then one other thing I would really tell the dispatchers to consider is, again, talking to drivers, setting boundaries, making sure that you're friendly, you're good to your driver. And you gotta always act confident, like you
own this shit.
I when I talk to driver or a broker, I always talk for myself, and like I'm that confident that I can tell, hey, listen, you're gonna do this, you're gonna go here, you're gonna do this, and I'm gonna make you this much money for the week. And then the driver just goes along, same way with the broker. If you're gonna call the broker, if you're gonna call the driver and say, hey, let's say you're a broker, I'm calling you, and I'm not confident in myself, and I'm like, you still have that load,
He's
maybe
gonna
we can
eat you. He's gonna feel it.
yeah. And then instead of saying I have an empty truck right now, 20 miles away, and we've done this much business, this many loads together, then the broker knows, oh God, man, this guy already knows. Like, for example, when I'm calling a broker or somebody random that I don't really know, we have our TP Transport Pro database of every single broker, every single customer that we've done business with. I would call the broker, and then immediately, the moment phone rings, I'm already typing out an MC, I'm looking their DOT, I'm looking up how many loads we've done together, I'm looking up the last load I did for them. The broker picks up a phone call, I present myself. Hey, this is Bola with Best Haul. I was checking on a load from here to here. I've got an empty truck. Immediately, you're coming in ready. You're telling him, I've got a super close truck, or
Get that hook.
yeah, exactly. You gotta sell it. So I've got a truck 15 miles away, ready to go now, sir. We're set up. My MC number 844184, and then the moment he starts looking up, then you pull another card. Boom. Hey, you're Scotland. I've done 419 loads for you guys from 2021 April 27, and then the guy. And then the guy, yeah, exactly. And then the guy looks at the database, and then he's like, "Damn, this guy really done his homework. He knows what he's talking
about." You pull him and you slap him 5,000.
and then you tell him the amount of loads, the good reviews, and the people. And also, what I like to do is I have a tendency of saying, if I work consistently with a couple of big account managers, then I would say, hey, I've been working with ABC for this many years on this account. Do you know him by any chance, man? Tell him I said what's up, and then the moment the broker realizes a familiar name, it kind of lets their guard down, and then they feel good about it, and I feel like that would be one of my good advices to you. Always watch out the ways you can approach of selling your service to the brokers and develop it. The more you listen to the other dispatchers, the more you're gonna hear new things, the more you're gonna develop your punching lines, and I think that's pretty much wraps everything.
So for the question number 12, what are the qualities do you think are essential for a dispatcher to succeed?
The qualities, again, being responsible, communication skills, again, like soft skills, it's very crucial in this business. I think that's really
basically
that's it. Yeah, that's the only thing you need to be good at.
Like try to like. Here's the thing: when you get to the dispatching, basically there's a saying that you're gonna be work 24/7. It's not that you don't have to work 24/7, but you gotta be always available. You cannot just walk out at 5 p.m. saying, "Oh, my job is done." Boom, you're disappeared. No, this is not how it works. It's basically when you're a dispatcher, when you have your 10 trucks, you are your owner of your own company. You have to know what's going on in every single corner of it. So be responsible. Uh, Learn your English, learn how to talk to people, and basically that's it. Let's move on to the question number 13. What's the most rewarding part of your job as a dispatcher? I think that's pretty easy. We can answer it both. Yeah, the money is good, but it really depends on how you perform. So, as I said, if you don't have those things like passion and you don't have a will for work, I mean, you're not gonna make money. If you have do those and in combination you put in hard work, listen, you're gonna make money. You have anything to add for that?
For me, not only the money is sets in as a factor. I mean, obviously it's the biggest factor in the. I mean, nobody, whoever tells you I'm just passionate. I mean, don't know about that. I'm really
Well,
into money.
actually,
But
yeah,
first
go ahead.
thing is, of course, money is the number one factor, and then the other thing is, I want to develop into something bigger. You know, everybody, I think, every person that has right set of goals, a vision, a dream at one point or another wants to do something about it. Like whether if you're a shoemaker, then and you want to be a good shoemaker, at one point you want to open, you know, your franchise of shoemaking stores. You know, little by little, right? For me, at one point or another, this is experience. I'm learning how to ins and outs of business, analyzing the flows, seeing a good side of the business, and then just managing people, and you know, just all those things as valuable for me as money, because in the long run, it's just I see a better return on that, in my opinion.
I just actually thought about this and I just came to a realization. So after 1 or 2 years in dispatching, I realized that I'm not afraid if anything goes left. Like for example, like the company shuts down, which hope is not gonna happen. But or if I get fired, the set of skills that I got as a dispatcher is invaluable. America moves on sales. If you know the art of sales, you can basically get to any job. Last question for today. Where do you see yourself in the trucking industry in the next 5 years?
At one point or another, I mean, one of my goals is to open my own trucking company. Arsen Ruslan, no offense, but open a better one, hopefully. And you know, just developing this logistics field. Maybe you know, at one point I would develop you know, enough customer base to roll out a brokerage and start brokering freight as well. And then just you know, as time goes by, I just feel myself. I see myself in this industry, and I believe that this industry. I mean, America is always moving.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have you know, automated trucks within the next 20, 30 years. I don't think that's really that realistic, to be quite honest with you, because there's just so many laws, so many things that has to be passed for us, you know, for them to really get rid of the drivers. Therefore, I really do think the trucking is going to be still there. Dispatching will still going to be there for the next 15, 20 years. So I still see myself in this industry, and yeah.
In my case, I don't think I'll be able to handle the pressure of owning a trucking company. It's very hard. What do I see myself in 5 years? I still see myself in trucking. I want to create my own team with a couple of dispatchers under my wing, and basically teach them everything that I know, make them the best dispatchers in the company, maybe proceed in this company, maybe give it to him. Sorry, Ruslan Hussein, you know. If he's gonna be better, I don't know, you know, the money talks. And kind of, I guess, just to continue doing this thing, it's a pretty new format for us, doing podcast. I mean, we had the brokers, maybe calling brokers to podcast somehow is gonna get us more connections, and maybe that will influence our freight movement, and we'll see where it goes. I still see myself in trucking in 5 years. I don't really planning to change anything. I guess that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and see you guys soon.